Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Imperial Diecast. I am back from holiday. Hope you all are doing well, and let's start reviewing diecast again, shall we? So, there's been a couple of Astons reviewed on my channel, from the DB7, DB10, Vanquish, and DB11, all the way up to the exotic 177. But this week's review is going to be about an even rarer Aston Martin. This beast here is the Vulcan. Named after Britain's Cold War strategic bomber, the Avro Vulcan. And it's finally available in 143 by Altaya for a very affordable price. I paid just over €10 for this, picked it up from CK along with the usual discounts they offer, but to be fair, when the Vulcan was on my wish list, for a long time I actually wanted to get the Kinsmart Aston Martin Vulcan, which is in scale 138. A bit bigger than this, but more importantly, because the Kinsmart has two things going for it, which this Altaya 143 Vulcan doesn't. The first thing is that the entire roof of the Kinsmart Vulcan is in carbon fiber, while the roof of the Altaya Aston Martin Vulcan is just gloss black. And the second feature is opening doors. On the other hand, we get raised window glass on this Altaya Vulcan, and we get brake discs and calipers on this one, which are missing on the Kinsmart. Ultimately, I went for the Altaya because it was available in my region for €12, while the Kinsmart had to be imported from somewhere else for 20. So here it is. Comes in its own display case, another bonus over the Kinsmart, and let's get it off its base. So the Aston Martin Vulcan came out in 2015 as a high-performance, track-only supercar. Or should I say hypercar? Because this is really something out of the world. And they made 24 cars in total, priced at $2.3 million each. Now, unlike the track-only Ferraris, be they the FXX, the 599XX, FXXK, the various Evos, or the McLaren P1 GTR, owners of the Aston Martin Vulcan actually get to keep the car in their own garage, because the other cars are basically the property of the companies, right? Either Ferrari or McLaren, and the quote-unquote owners only get to borrow it to drive, whereas this is actually something that you can basically take home, only you can't drive it on the street. So the Vulcan is definitely an exotic among exotics, and it's been superseded by the Aston Martin Valkyrie, but I still think that this remains a class of its own. Let's take a look at the front. So the front of the Aston Martin Vulcan is very aerodynamic and quite an understatement, if you will. There's really not much to see here because the headlights are essentially these dagger-like contraptions, and they mold perfectly into the body lines. The front grille has its own texture, although it could have been done a little bit better, I'd say, because it does look a lot better on the Kinsmart, a lot more pronounced. But we do get the Aston Martin logo on this Altaya as well, and it looks good. Moving further up, we get to the long hood. And you can see that Altaya even made sure to include the two radiators inside the air extractors. So that is a nice extra level of detail for a budget 143 car, basically. It's really cool. The front splitter is also impressive, as it juts out in front of the car like a blade, giving it that extra bit of downforce. The engine of the Vulcan is a 7-liter naturally aspirated V12, doing an incredible 820 horsepower without any turbos, which definitely puts this, 9-year-old car still in the top 5 naturally aspirated engines. The top speed, without the wing, is 335 kilometers per hour, and 0 to 100 kph takes just over 2.9 seconds. And I believe it remains the second fastest Aston Martin to this day, right behind the Valkyrie, but I think the Valhalla will take second place once it is released. And from here you can see how sleek the side profile of the Aston Martin Vulcan looks. I also like the fact that Altaya replicated the stance of this car pretty well. You can see it hugs the ground. You can see that up here we have the typical Aston Martin side vent, although in a slightly elongated fashion. The mirrors also look pretty cool. So checking out the wheels, as you can see here, we get brake discs and brake calipers, and the hub in the middle of the spokes is also painted red. Now, the discs and calipers are missing on the Kinsmart version, but they're here on the Altaya. And this right here is the exhaust of this car, which is painted silver on the Kinsmart, I think. The back of the Aston Martin Vulcan gives us a few Aston Martin vibes, especially like from the Vanquish. You can see that the Aston Martin logo is in the middle, and the taillights do remind us of the Vanquish, I think at least. There is glass for the taillights, and they even have some texture on them, so Altaya did try to give them some detail, even though they are so thin. And we've got this massive spoiler above, mounted on this blade, basically, that is like an extension of the rear part of the car, and underneath we have a small silver keylock, I suppose. So yeah, I mean, this is just a pretty cool looking rear end for a track-based car. Very nice. Now, the Vulcan does have a fuel filler cap modeled right here by Altaya. However, as you can see, it is just a groove in the mold, whereas the Kinsmart one actually prints a silver decal here. And now let's check out the interior of the Aston Martin Vulcan. The interior is hard to see because the windows are narrow and it's black. However, you can see the center stack angling down, the steering wheel on the driver's side, and then we have racing seats with extra side bolstering. This is not a single-seat race car. And you can also see an air vent and a screen behind it. Some details on the dashboard as well. And on the driver's side, you can get a glimpse of the race-spec steering wheel. Unfortunately, nothing is painted, even though the buttons are there. Somewhere is a 6-speed sequential transmission on this car. So yeah. And finally, taking a look at the bottom of the car, you can see that it says here 143 Aston Martin Vulcan. Tread on the tires looks okay. Some nice diffuser blades here, but apart from that, not much to see. So overall, I'd recommend the Kinsmart over this one. But I don't think Kinsmart made one in orange. So if you want to own a Vulcan in orange without wanting to spend $300 on the 118 Auto Art, then this 143 Altaya is a good model for the asking price of around $15 or less. So I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Altaya's 143 Aston Martin Vulcan. I definitely think that for this price point it is worth adding to your collection. It is a unique car, and the color suits it well. And if you're interested in more Aston Martin reviews, be sure to check them out right over here. Take care. This is Imperial Diecast, signing out.